need to... Yeah. Okay, so... Cool. So I just spent about 10 minutes trying to work this mic, and I was on a time schedule for this podcast, and it feels like, when the universe just fucking... Anyway, that created a lot of pressure and stress in my body, knowing that I was on a time schedule, which is why I needed to let go and express that, which is great for the theme of today's podcast, expression. Most of your problems would be solved if you just expressed more. So let's rewind it back to Nuna 10 years ago. I was so unexpressed in so many different ways. And being more expressed has changed so many things about my life, mainly just the ability to self-regulate. So back in 20, God, I can't do it by the years. When I was about 24 to 26, maybe younger than that. Anyway, I was doing a lot of cocaine. Yeah, it was bad. And I had to go to the nose doctor at one point because my nose was just falling apart. I was just having really bad allergic reactions. I even went to the funny part is I went to the nose doctor at the time because I wanted to keep sniffing cocaine, but I just couldn't because my nose wouldn't let me. I was building up allergic reactions. My theory is that I must have eroded the protective layer of my nose. And so whenever I started sniffing anything, even the tiniest amount, I would just come up with this, my nose would go inflamed, the walls would get so, inflamed and swollen that they would close up, and then I couldn't breathe for 3 days. I had such a dry mouth at night. It's so weird talking about this because I'm so different now. But I went to the doctor with hope that there was a solution for me to sniff more cocaine. And he literally looked at me and he goes, how much, bloody hell, how much do you do? And I was like, not that much. I was like, just, when a doctor asks how many cigarettes a smoker smokes and they half it, I was like, oh yeah, just, every other weekend. And at that point I was sniffing cocaine from Friday to Monday, no sleep. This was during COVID. For 3 days straight. And it was continuous. And I would do anything to get my nose cleared so that I could sniff another line. Yeah. It's so funny talking about it now, but yeah, I was a bit of a nitty, and it was a lot, but I really do believe that my nose giving in was the sign that would actually change me. Because there was loads of mental health problems going on there as well, but I just they weren't enough for me to go oh, I probably shouldn't be doing this. So yeah, that kind of, when I had that appointment with that doctor, that kind of started the grieving and the detachment process, which is also strange to kind of describe it like that, but it was, because I had to grieve a lot of things as I started to realize that like I actually couldn't carry on that way. I had to grieve my lifestyle. I had to grieve the people that I was hanging out with, because I just knew that in those environments I couldn't trust myself to not get wrapped up in it again. Like, even if I would go to something and be like, oh my God, like, I'm just not gonna sniff anything, I'll just do it sober. I just couldn't do that. It was just like, I tried so many times, but there was nothing in me that like really wanted that. Like, I just wanted to sniff coke because that's how I would regulate myself. And that's how I felt something. That's how I felt good, you know? And without it, I just didn't know who I was, or I didn't feel comfortable in social situations. I became dependent on it to like give me this feeling of like confidence. And yeah, so there was a grieving process of like my lifestyle, the people I was hanging out with, you know, because like these people were really close to me and people that I really love, you know, and I still love them. And now it's different because I've healed all of that. So I can actually go to things and like be sober and like it doesn't affect me. And I'm no longer like in this need for something to like make me feel good or revitalize me or regulate me, because a lot of the dependency was like in social situations feeling really anxious and needing some kind of boost to feel like I could handle the anxiety, or like, yeah, just feel kind of powerful. But obviously that was me outsourcing my power to something that was really fucking detrimental to my body, my mental health, everything. And also like where I was going with my life, because I'd spent 3 days awake, partying, sniffing, and then I'd spend 4 days recovering. And that's basically a whole week, isn't it? Can't get anything done. So I wasn't actually moving forwards in my life either. So what I'm getting at here is that when you don't know how to self-regulate, when you're reliant on something else, or you're holding it all in, or you're letting the anxiety just be there, or the stress just be there, and not doing something with that energy, because it's just energy, by the way, emotion, anxiety, you know, those sensations where you just feel like the overwhelm, all of it, it's all just energy. And it gets, when you suppress yourself, when you don't express, all of this energy gets bottled up and you become a pressure cooker. And then that's when you see people, I mean, I was also a culprit of like getting injuries every time I was in a launch, because I was just harboring all of this stress and chaos and like pressure in my body, and I wasn't expressing it, which meant that my body was suffering. This energy, this emotion, this pressure, this stress, it has to go somewhere. And the way that it moves through you and out of you is through expression. Like the body already knows, we are born knowing how to relieve our body of stress. And that's through crying, laughing, screaming, dancing, stomping our feet, tantruming, you know, saying exactly what we feel. But somewhere along the way, we learn that it's not okay to do that. And that's why the whole human race is suffering. Kids are now on antidepressants from like the age of like 9 because they just don't know how to express themselves in a way that's safe and accepted. Like, people are getting cancer, they're getting ill. I mean, like 93% of all illness is trauma related, and that's because the body is holding on to something that's not being expressed. And so, like, you know, fast forward to who I am now, and I'm such a more expressed version of me, not just in like my dancing, for example, because I was a stiff little body back then. Like, I only started really learning how to be more expressive and find kind of like my expression through dance in the last like few years. And what really helps me just like get into a frequency of alignment and like relaxation and peace and joy is letting myself express, crying more, being more silly, being dancing more, like using the tools that I love to use during my retreats, which is like kriyas, like expression, tapping. Like, when you know how to move energy through your body, you can regulate yourself through anything. And then you can access pleasure, because you can't feel pleasure while you're dysregulated. Your body's in fight or flight. So to actually be able to feel pleasure and to like enjoy what you're doing in your business, you have to feel at peace. You have to feel calm. So like when you're creating your content, or you're creating your meditations, or you're taking a client session through a process, and you're really like building an empire from this creation of and channeling of who you are, that's not going to feel good if you're in this pressure, get things done, just like overproduction, ticking things off a list, like how quickly can I get it done? That's going to rob you of your pleasure, because you're just in fight or flight. So what's really like changed my life is making space for me to, one, acknowledge how I feel. And I'd be like, okay, what's actually going on in my body right now? Like every morning, every time I notice myself, now that I actually know when I'm dysregulated, then I know what to do next. But here's the thing. I spent most of my life not knowing when I was dysregulated, because I never knew what it felt like to be regulated. And I remember when I was living in Bali, the first year of my, the first year after I moved there, the girls I was living with would come down and we'd have a cup of tea in the morning, and they'd say things like, oh, I just feel really ungrounded today, feel really ungrounded. And I'd be like, what the hell is ungrounded? Like, how do I know if I'm grounded or ungrounded? And I started like trying to notice this like every day, like what does grounded feel like? What does ungrounded feel like? And the more I kind of brought awareness to it, the more I realized that I've never felt grounded, because I was always go, 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 rush, 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 get things done, in this state of like panic, fight or flight. But it was always like this underlying hum, because it was just me. And yeah, so nowadays the thing that's really changed me as a person and helped me take like agency over how I feel, my habits, no longer being controlled by anything or dependent on anything, and actually feeling alive and turned on and in pleasure, and creating and building my business from this like insanely like dripping wet in pleasure frequency, is being able to express first. Because without expression, you will always be a pressure cooker. You will always feel ungrounded. You will always be dysregulated. And so if you're someone who tries to meditate, when you feel anxious, when you feel ungrounded, and your mind's going tick, 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 and your body's like, ugh, and you try and meditate, hell no. Meditation is not good for that. How can you sit still when your body wants to run a fucking mile? The way you regulate yourself is by moving the energy through your body, moving the emotion, moving the anxiety, and that means expression. Dancing, laughing, crying, shouting, screaming into a pillow, like that energy needs to leave your body. It's being silly, feral, wild, like, you know, that is how you're going to feel relaxed and then turned on. Then you'll be able to access the pleasure, the aliveness, the excitement that comes with living every moment of your life when you're not in go, go, go. So I am hosting a really fun and deep online event called Expressed. And you've got to get in there, because if you're someone who struggles with expression and dance and using your voice, so many of us have a blocked throat chakra, it means that you're holding on to a lot in your body. And there's so much freedom for you to access that's going to completely change how you feel every day, completely change how you show up in your business. You're going to be more magnetic. You're going to be more alive. You're going to have way more fun in what you're building. You got to join it. It's only £22. And if you join before Wednesday, I think it's the 5th of August, I'm going to include for you a meditation called the Inner King meditation. And it's exactly what you need. It's like essential. Before you are able to express, you have to be super anchored and rooted in your masculine. Because if you aren't, it's not going to feel safe expressing. Expression is very feminine. It can be really chaotic. It can be super like anything can happen, right? So if you're not anchored in your masculine, the masculine has to contain, it's the containment. So before we go into the expression, the Expressed 5-day online activation, you're going to want to be really working on healing the control in your masculine and turning it into self-leadership. Because while you're always trying to control, you'll never be able to express. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes. It's going to be in my bio on Instagram. You have to join it. It's going to be a whole group of women. We're going to have 2 calls, one at the very beginning, so that on the Monday, one on the Friday to celebrate. And in between, I'm going to be giving you activations in Telegram to get really clear on where you're not expressed and start to open up your expression and make it feel comfortable and become a woman who is more expressed and free and alive and turned on in her body. Amazing. See you there.